computer. There we go.
I didn't get the memo about the shirt color choices. Sorry.
Oh,
You two are almost matching, but I'm kind of an outlier.
yeah, I'm really disappointed, you know. So, Jan, did you post a photo this week?
No,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was very busy uh, with my project, ending my project.
Yeah.
Well, I've this week I've edited everything and it's ready now.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
wonderful. And so then what's the next step?
Yeah, I've sent some emails to magazines, so maybe they want to publish or something or not. So that's exciting.
Yes, indeed.
About 3 weeks ago, I sent one to the biggest uh, magazine here for photography, but they didn't react. So, but yeah, it's normal. They say this. I don't know because everybody is sending them photos. I think, and yeah,
Well, you got to
we'll,
put your stuff out there. I mean, no matter if you fail, you still got to keep plugging if that's what your goal is.
yeah. It's just I'm busy, and well, some people say you need to have an exhibition or something like that, but.
Yeah.
I Uh, I have printed four series of four, and that's it. So, and I have made four extra as well of four. So this is ready now. And sometimes I see things, and I try to manage that and repair. If I see something in the photos that's not good, in my opinion, then I repair it. And well, we will see. Sometimes when you lay it down a week, you see some things extra. Huh? So if you want, I can show them to you.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now here in Bloomington, we have this thing every Friday. There's called a gallery walk. There's several galleries in around downtown Bloomington. This being a college town and everything, you got stuff like that. So there's almost always some place where you can post. If you're a photographer, these people are crying
Yeah.
out for people to post things. So if you
There
have
are
anything like that,
there are possibilities on internet, but I've seen as well. If you want to do something, you have to pay. Huh? But,
Mm.
it's not that I don't want to pay, but if I need to pay every site $30 or $40, I get poor from posting things. So
yeah, the galleries here don't charge anything. They'll put up like QR codes to donate to the gallery with your
yeah.
stuff. And there's usually a pretty good turnout, and they're just crying for people, for artists to come and put their stuff up.
But they told me when you go to a gallery or something, then they try to sell it, your photos, and then they sell it for the normal price is 400 or 500 for a photo, and then you get half of it, they say, more or less. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's saleable or not, or I didn't investigate anything, but I would say I like more a magazine and a possible an exhibition than a gallery
Yeah.
because that's more commercial. And I don't know if my work is uh, interesting for people like that as well.
I had one photo in a magazine, it's photography week of a bee on a rose. And it wasn't that good of a photo when they picked it up. And they didn't ask me to do any other photos. This is like almost 10 years ago. I've never had anything like that since. So it's just a fluke.
Yeah, 20 years ago I had an exhibition, but the photos were very bad in the library here. And I sometimes I have had an exhibition, a small publication, but that's it, no
Yeah.
more. And I'm not working on it, but now because I have series, I have a product,
Hmm.
and that's different. And yeah, maybe I don't know. It's nice to show other people your work.
Yeah,
So
Well, and it's lovely to have the focus that a project gives you as well. It
yeah,
gives you a nice intention, something to aim for.
yeah,
so you got something to show us then, huh, Jan?
yeah. If you give me, oh, there's a
You should. Let me see. Here we go. Allow.
yeah. Let me see. You see something?
Not yet.
I need to do something then, or
Do you have more than one monitor?
no?
Um, you
Oh,
should.
maybe. Oh, here, share another time.
Yeah, yeah. I think you
Okay.
click share, but then you have to click it again. Another
Okay.
share button pops up. There we go. It's coming.
Okay.
I can see Adobe Bridge.
Okay. So I have here 8 series, and this is internal. You need to see this photo, or you need the photos. You can see the photos as well, like this. So this internal paste.
I like the motion there.
Is this
I
a
do,
crop at
but
all?
it's just motion, yeah. Two people with hands in motion. That's the second. Here you can see the tension of the man's hand in his trousers.
Yeah, he's holding down tightly to prevent. He just got the urge to grab that phone, but he's holding into that pocket.
I was very close to him. And here the people couldn't go into the bus, so
And
it
I think
was
it's interesting that iconography is
yeah,
sort of something that leads out of the woman on the left,
yeah.
whatever those might mean, with the
It
baby
was
carriage.
the sun in her eye, but I left
Yeah,
it like this. I think I can get it out, but it's better to leave it in. And
and I
this is
like
the
that.
whole series.
Yeah.
How did you make in terms of the selection of the placement along the top or the four squares or the four rectangles?
I don't understand what you say.
Oh, how did so you showed them individually, but now like seeing it like this, I was just wondering about your sense of placement on the single sheet with the four images.
How I did it.
More in terms of conceptually, I have a sense of how you did it technically, but like how conceptually how you thought about the layout of the four images in relation to one another.
Yeah, ChatGPT helped me to put them in order. So it's from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Hmm.
and it was close, uh, less close, more focused, and then going away. That was the intention of telling.
I think it's a good format. It's simple.
Yeah,
Um, and I like white. I mean, I'm not a big fan of borders to place borders on your photo, but there is going to be a built-in border if you put it onto a website or if it's printed on a magazine page or whatever, there's going to be some kind of border there.
yeah.
But
But
in
it
this,
was more like practical as well, because then if I didn't do it like that, I need to print everything.
Hmm.
yeah,
So now I can make 4 photos in one.
Well, it gives you a bit more control too in terms of how the image will be displayed in relation to the space around it to keep
Yeah,
it if you've put your own border.
yeah. And if I want to show it to people, I can only send the one with 4. That's easy, and I can tell the concept was as well
Oh, that's
very
lovely.
very good.
The
This is
light,
about emotion.
the light really worked well for you there.
yeah.
It was with a difficult light situation here.
Mm-hmm. You turned it to good effect.
Yeah, it was just because she wasn't moving too much. Because when she moved too much, I couldn't make the photo. Everybody was moving and she was standing still.
Yeah, you get people with their phones or somebody taking a photograph. They're usually whole mutts. They're pretty still generally.
Yeah, and I'm quite close. If I go too fast, you have to say it, but I just.
No, it's good.
I need to. I'll tell you that. Hey, go back. But no, this is good. Um,
Next one.
Now, when you're doing these, do you have a story in mind?
Now I worked as a just on 2 or 3 projects together.
But I mean, each individual image, though, like this particular image, do you have a story in mind with what's going on in this image?
No. But later, when you are at home, you can see that this man is emotional. This man is busy with his head.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, this is fitting in this project. And
I also
sometimes
like the
you work on it that you, for example, when you work for technical, so I
Mhm.
have a theory for infrastructure. Then you work for people with phones or people with computers or people with. So you got to look for kind things like that. But
I also
actually,
like the arrangement
this was
very
just
well.
lucky.
Oh,
This man was very busy with his cell phone.
the placement of the sunglasses is really effective there.
Yeah. Like a bug.
Yeah.
And here you can see the emotion in her face as well. That, she is not getting the bus, so she thinks he's going more quick than she cannot get it.
Yeah, there's kind of a gracefulness in her body language or the way her body is positioned
Yeah.
with her right leg cocked up like that, and the forward momentum is coming out of the image to the right.
Yeah. And I was just standing there. I just have to wait till people miss their bus. So because when you are standing there and you're standing there for half an hour, there is always 3 or 4 who are missing one. Actually, I know a little bit how it works now.
No, that really works well together.
Yeah.
I was going to say earlier in the photo with the man kind of leaning forward with kind of the emotional look on his face. I like the placement of the woman behind on the diagonal, and she's kind of she's got the same kind of leaning forward, so the two of them are in tension visually for me when I look at that image.
Yeah, it sort of made me feel kind of like he's fed up with the people leaving him behind or something like that.
Hmm.
This I have showed you already for the last time, huh?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
And you submitted one of those photos a few weeks back too, I believe.
Yeah.
Physical. Let me see, where is that one? Oh, here. Um, Physical. This is physical. This I showed Teddy, I think.
Yeah, I saw the guy with the escalator on the right, in the upper right-hand corner. That's a good one.
Well, and the hair on the woman kind of suspended in her emotion there.
Yeah, actually, I was sometimes mixing photographs with one man or one woman, with more people. But in the beginning, I didn't look at that. This is the first I've made.
No, these are really something.
Yeah, the one with her hair up almost looks like makes me think slow motion for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm standing in front of the station there, and there are always people who are miss the train. So this one is
Yeah, there's some good
here.
motion
I'm
there.
working with the 7200. You can see that the back is a 2.8, so you can see the background is fuzzy.
Yeah, a bit of compression as well.
Yeah,
There's still enough to give the impression of being in a train station
yeah,
without without the distraction of all the lines and corners and stuff that we'd have.
yeah. That's difficult when you do a series like this. There's always trouble, always something going on.
Train stations and airports are really conducive to kind of capturing people in kind of, I mean, they're technically in transit, but it also kind of catches them in this kind of in between space in interesting ways. And the spaces are often so architecturally beautiful or
Yeah.
interesting, or so many different surfaces and layers.
This is controlled.
I like the line there with the cane and the leg and the uprights.
Yeah, actually, this is not really controlled. I could be more, but yeah, it's in it.
There's an echo again with this the structure in the back. The shape there just kind of echoes the man's leg.
Yeah.
Oh, this is nice.
And the light was just coming out of the machine and on the woman's face, in the back.
Now, did you notice that? Were you looking for that when you
Yeah,
took
I
this?
was looking for the light, yeah, because on the other side there was no light. I stand there as well, but another thing was there was another man of the securities checking there, so
Oh,
I need to go to the other side.
Well, and that you pick up the light on the stainless steel structures all the way down into the depth of the photo here too.
Yeah,
A little reflection.
this has got almost a spiral feel to it. It's just like an interesting play of geometry.
Yeah, these are great.
Yeah.
if you work on it, you get something.
Hmm.
Now, when you first go out to a train station and you start to take photos, I mean, do, do you have a hard time getting warmed up to get started, or do you do something specific to
Uh,
get your juices going?
in the beginning, you are afraid to do that, to make photos, and after that, you can. Well, you think, what can happen? Only a man of the security can come and say that it's not allowed. And
Yeah.
sometimes people don't like it. But mostly I work so fast that because they are in a hurry. They cannot see that I'm making photos because they don't want to miss their train.
Hmm.
I'm always only looking for people who miss their train, not for people who are not in a hurry. Here it was so busy that the woman was too close to the man, and she didn't like it. Actually, it's a photo of nothing, but
Well, I wouldn't say that. There's a there's a certain amount of, I mean, you see what's going on. It's a train station, so that you've got a built-in kind of story,
yeah.
and people are
But I
crowded.
like the lines of the two women and to the man, and the other line as well. So it's a kind of V or S form.
Hmm. Well, and we talked in another conversation about how like over time, like seeing these images of crowds, and then you kind of pick up so much. Like in 10 years, someone looking at that will be looking at the clothes that people are wearing,
Yep.
the backpacks, the kind of
Yeah.
mannerisms
Yeah.
of people.
That's all in it because now you have checking ports, but maybe in a few years we have a chip in our body. So you don't know how that's working in a few years.
I was thinking about that too. We were talking about the narrative here a couple of weeks ago. I think, say, I'm not saying you, but just say a photographer who's kind of never really made it or something like that, but he gets killed on an automobile accident or something like that. He's killed. All of a sudden, his stuff is more interesting because he's dead.
Hmm.
Who knows how much more famous Van Gogh was
Yeah.
because of his death.
And his missing ear.
Yeah. So that adds oomph to it that you weren't able to put there other than just wait and see. But this is really fun. I like this. You have the little the sign, the icon of the sign hanging down with the person running, and there's the woman running. And the man is almost like he's playing. I can imagine some type of silent movie, fat chase music.
This is about social, eh? This photo I like because of this man is running and he is how you say faster than the other man. So he has a smile on his face. You cannot get the train and I have it.
So do you know all the good spots now to stand to watch people kind of trying to get that last jump into the train?
Yeah, actually, well, this was a difficult place because it's very dark. It was very dark and I was underdeveloped. So, but I managed it to get it not too grainy. You can see a little bit grainy in his face, but
Yeah. But it's perfect how you've got the clock, and is that a calendar, the 10?
no, that's the
The
road,
yeah,
the number of the train,
platform.
the number
Yeah.
of the platforms. Yeah,
With the clock there, that's perfect.
yeah, I managed
Those
that
clocks.
to get it in.
I took a train across Switzerland because I think it's we're based on all those Swiss clocks, and every single one was not in very good shape. I was trying to get some really good photos of those clocks.
Yeah, she is telling me something that she want to say maybe for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but
Doesn't look like good news.
and I was very close, but they were very uh, emotional to each other, and I saw it, and I think this is a picture for me. So this was social. You want to see everything, or you
Sure.
are
It's interesting. Yeah.
okay? This is infrastructural.
I like the man's hands.
Yeah. He's obviously on a Zoom meeting or something, but my first impulse was he was feverishly typing something.
He's
And
zooming
the
with his
columns in the
wife.
back are so beautifully lit.
Yeah.
And you like escalators, I've noticed. I can see why they kind of introduce that kind of the lines and they bring people up into or down out of a scene.
Actually, this was a cafeteria, a cafeteria or cafe uh, above the station. I didn't notice this before, but then one time I went there for a cup of coffee and I saw that people were sitting there. So it's in Amsterdam.
You've shown us this one before.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the
Blurred.
phantom legs in between the guy's legs.
Yeah, I just noticed that myself too. Yeah. That's interesting.
It's a bit busy, but I liked it. And I was thinking of maybe editing this woman in the back, but taking out. But and I see legs in between the other legs as well. But in the other end, it's it's reality, yeah.
I think
Well,
the
in fact,
legs add.
it's a story. The picture is could be looked at as a story of legs because you've got the two folks sitting back to back, and their legs are
Yeah,
almost kind of a mirror, and then you've got the guy in the front, and then the one that like you've got legs. All everyone's got legs here. I
good
mean,
idea. Good idea.
yeah.
I think, yeah, it wouldn't hurt if you clone that woman out, but that's not that big of a deal.
And he has a phone in his hand, and in the other hand, he has, I think, a ticket for the train or something. Or maybe it's an iPad, I don't know.
I think I saw a sequence of this stuff of her. This is a good sequence.
hmm
Good profile, and the backlight is really good.
Yeah, but this was a difficult photo as well because it has a lot of light,
hmm
and she was there sitting in the dark.
Well, yeah, and you could have she could have been really backlit and in shadows, but you've got that managed really well.
Yeah, was possible, but I liked her face, so therefore I thought it was better to do it like this. But
hmm
we have a new guest, Richard.
Oh,
Richard,
Oh, hello there.
how you doing? Okay.
we've been going through some of Jan's photos. He's of a series of photos he's been working on. He's wanting to try to get it into a magazine or a website or in a gallery or something.
Okay. Yeah, good set. How many
Yeah.
are in the set? It's just obviously more than those four, yeah?
I don't know what's it in English, but the next photo series is about uh, be in a hurry, but not totally. It's only inside. Uh, so as I can say in English, maybe kept secret or
Mhm.
it's not getting out.
Okay. Mm.
This was a bit difficult, this photo as well, because there's too much light in the back, eh?
hmm
Was this in Amsterdam too?
Yeah.
So platform 10 is your hunting ground.
What you say?
I said platform 10 is your hunting ground.
Yeah, yeah, I've
10B.
been in that train station.
Yeah, but the other 10 was in The Hague.
Oh, okay.
But I like as well that's on the sign there's 1 minute.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
And this was a really difficult photo for me because there was too much light through the windows.
Have you made it duller in the highlights then?
Yeah.
See, look, the highlights look quite dull on the especially on the girl on the bottom left.
Yeah.
How bright are how bright are those highlights on there? I wonder whether you dulled it down at all.
What time it was when I took the photo?
No, as in what percentage is the white on her shirt, the bottom left? Do we know?
yeah. What happens is if you blow the highlights, they're going to be like in the zone systems. They're going to be the highest, brightest zones. Could be no detail, and then if you try to make them darker, they just turn gray.
There's nothing in. Yeah.
Now, what you can do in a case like this, you can use some tiny elliptical gradients and go ahead and let those zone 10 whites come out a little bit so it will look more realistic. So you don't get a field of gray across her breast or along the shoulders here. But that's hard to work with.
It's very difficult.
You could just do a little selection over the girl on the bottom left, the shirt there, feather it, then brighten the highlights a little bit. There's lots of different ways you can do it. Yeah.
There's something really nice about when you're shooting on like a train platform, like everything has such depth to it. Like all of the things very narrowly kind of recede in the background in several of these shots.
Yeah. Here the contrast is nice, huh? The legs are good. means, in my opinion, they are.
She's in the right place, isn't she? Yeah.
That was it. We have had everything
Well,
now.
thank you for sharing all this.
Yeah. So Richard, you're the first time you've been in this.
I have watched a couple. I've watched a couple on Zoom,
Yeah.
and obviously you've seen the sort of things I've been putting in of late. Anyway, as I was a member quite a long time ago. I think when I rejoined, I've had, obviously a lot of them have been lost, haven't they, or hacked or whatever. But I did have quite a lot in the main photo stream, but back when it was the +10s, so it's quite a while back.
Yeah. So what kind of photography do you work with?
Right, so I do a few different things. Of late, you've seen me do these composites, like the peg ones, just recently.
Yes, they're wonderful.
And obviously, there's a couple of underwater ones that I've imagined would be, which I've just taken from various things that I don't do anything with AI. It's all just done things that props I find that I like to use. I find like a prop in like the one with the underwater car one the other week I put through. That was a £3 toy car, for the Cars movie. I can't called Finn something. The name of the car is, and by switching around the opposite way, you lose the eyes that are on the front, the kid-friendly eyes. It makes it look more like a James Bond thing underwater with that squid I put in. So I find an object. I have a whole armory of other props I use, and I just bring things. I imagine it and bring it together, and obviously in my head first, I know how to shoot everything at the right place to put it all together in one hit. So, like for that one, I went down to Plymouth Aquarium and took some pictures. There's Plymouth and Devon in the UK, and got some pictures of the aquarium to get the underwater bits for that one picture. So I go out and just get. It's all very reactionary to a prop or a simple thing that I start a starting point. Then I work from that. And with the pegs, it's quite interesting. I thought I'd put that one in this week. I've done a whole. So I'm 61 now. When I was at art college, when I was when I was 16, we were given a brief to find an everyday household object. This is back before computers, and you'd find every object and then make a series of images based on that object. Well, I chose pegs back then, and it's a thing I've kept going right the way back from when I was, let's see, 16, 17. Now I'm 61, and I'm still doing the occasional of pegs. But it's the first one I've shared with the group. So I've done a lot of things with like the dinosaurs with pegs as heads and things like that back at the time, dinosaurs. But that's all done with the rotring pen back then, and paints and things like that. So I've moved on with photography side of it and extending it into that. So, but it's, as I say, this AI things is from my point of view, because because I do infrared photography, a lot of that. I've had some of those in the group before. So I've got an infrared converted camera, and obviously I've got a number of other cameras. But that's one of the stream things. I do portraits of artists in studios. I've done a whole series of those. So there's a real mixture of stuff. Travel photography. What I don't do is nature or flowers. I like if it's obviously a composition with a flower in it, which is done really as an obvious composition or as an arty sort of, that I can go with that, but I don't do flowers as such.
You have cameras enough to make photos.
I've got plenty of cameras. Yeah,
I can see that. Yes.
I do collect cameras. You might notice behind me. I've got quite a few.
I was going to wonder if you were in a camera store.
No, this is my house. All of these. That's an American one. That you're probably all aware of that one.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
Yeah. Over here, they're not. They're much harder to come by over here because they want really that obvious camera over here.
I don't have a nice shelf behind, but there we go.
Yeah, ideal. So I've got quite a collection of old cameras. I do use them. I had one in the weekly quite a while ago. I did a portrait of Man Ray, but with all different made up of different cameras. This portrait that was quite a while ago. I'm not sure whether it's still on. It might be on the still there. So because I added a few that were still eligible to go back into the most or favorites, whatever it is, section.
Yep.
That might have been one of the ones that went back in. But I chose Man Ray because obviously he wasn't very like specific with one particular type of camera, so I couldn't choose Kodak because obviously that portrait would have just mean I would have had to use Kodak cameras. I have got a lot, but not enough to divide it up into the pixel sections that I used for the Man Ray one, where I could use any of my cameras. See, like I say, he wasn't very specific. He'd have different bits and chop and change things around a bit, from what I understand. You know, like mixed lenses with different cameras and different things.
It's interesting to think what Man Ray would do with the digital darkroom tools
Yeah.
we now have.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the same with any artist now, isn't it? I mean, it's changed everything, hasn't it?
Mm.
Even a simple shot isn't a simple shot anymore, is it? Because like even a thing straight out of camera isn't generally straight out of camera. You'll darken it, you'll lighten a little bit, or whatever. You'll correct it in some way.
Or the camera's doing it without your control.
Yeah, that's right. Depending on how it's set to process it.
Yeah. Half the work is after the shot, eh?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
No, I spent 2 hours shooting photos the day before yesterday, and I spent 4 hours processing them. And I still got a few more to work on.
Yeah.
Now with your peg hinge.
Yeah.
Now I've often heard this referred to as tabletop photography. So do you have a setup like a table or a special room for this, or?
Right. So it's actually I'm far much more of an idiot for that sort of thing, really, because I think it's a lot simpler than that, but I do make it complicated at times. So the pegs I shot on my table, but not with any lighting, because very often when I create things, I find it easier for things that are not going to be filling the frame too much to use a phone, because then you get everything in focus. So when you place something in, you don't want part of that object placed in the picture where some of it might be out of focus. Because if it's on one plane in the picture, to look convincing, it all has to be in focus. Right. So using a smaller sensor like a phone camera, I tend to get the whole peg in focus. I actually put a pair of pegs in place and photographed them literally on a dark background literally on right in front of my computer, using the available light, angling them to where I wanted the light to be. And then, but this is where the idiot bit comes in. I actually drove to Stonehenge, and I parked in the car park next to Stonehenge, because the grass, how it's cut, is exactly, and the shape of the hill is quite, you know, it makes it more obvious it's Stonehenge. And that, looking at that bit of land, I took the picture of the field next to Stonehenge. So it's got the same curve, and the grass, how it's done, because they have animals that they keep the management for the grass control is done by sheep generally.
Yeah,
and it just looks right. So I actually made the effort of driving there to get that shot. I did it in daylight. I got so I had to make it look like it was done it obviously dusk or sunrise, whichever you prefer. Then I got a couple of shots in the Isle of Skye. I put in one with a sunburst and one with a sunset. Then I put that in behind it. It's all manufactured, so I only had to change the sky for the sunset. Then add the pegs on the tabletop, make them all look like it's done at the same time. And then I had the sunburst between where some of the pegs are different layered. The ones at the back, I put the sunburst in between those to make it look like it's bursting through the pegs. But
the kind of technical proficiency with the framing and the compositing and such, it's really marvelous. But I'll also say this: I was looking at your photo stream a few weeks ago, and I saw you do that wonderful Pentax camera killer robot, and I just love the whimsy in your work. There's a lot of kind of I don't know, it's just really creative and whimsical, and
I'm known at Camera Club for being a bit nutty, particularly I did a quarter of an hour presentation to Camera Club in Exeter the other day, and I just showed them, because they've seen me drop a little, like a peg picture in here or there. They had no idea as to the extent I've been doing pegs or the length of time I've been doing peg pictures for. So I started off showing them some of my paintings I've done at art college, how it's progressed on through that, the different line drawing, then it went into photography. So they had no illusions of the fact what I do. That half of that talk was devoted to pegs and how the evolution of that, how I've gone through from one to the other, then carried it on with photography. But also the other stream I had was the portraits I do. I've done a lot of portraits, and I pick a subject like the Lego chap who mentioned Ollie Christians or whatever is his name. I did him in Lego. But again, to do that, I actually made the Lego portrait with a section of his eye missing and put it all together, the whole thing put together. But to do that, I had to go, because Lego's quite expensive. There's a rival brand over here that I could get at the time that was more cost effective. But and you buy it what you call pick and mix. Because I was the limited colours, red, black and white. I then had to get, literally, I used to go to one store, wipe them out, something called Wilkinson's was a store, wipe them out in one location, then go to Bournemouth. I was going to Devizes. I was going literally a massive area. I probably did about 20 different stores over a massive area just to get enough bricks. I could make the actual thing, which is quite high. It's about 2 foot, 3 foot high. The actual Lego thing I ended up making just to photograph it for this one picture. But it's a portrait of the inventor of Lego with bricks.
No, fun. And a lot of work.
It's a lot of painstaking thing putting it together, a lot of work then putting it together. I actually did an illustrator grid for all the Legos exactly to scale, so I knew when I could made them up, I could match it and make it up. So I did it all out in Illustrator first with coloured block areas for the shapes, so I knew how to match it up afterwards to make it for real. So there's a lot of preparation work. Then you've got a quick burst with the photography side of it. Then you've got a lot of work then doing the processing afterwards to get it to look right. So yeah, some are easier than others.
You must also have a pretty good sense of using some of the light tools in terms of bringing light into because you're photographing things from the world, and then you're photographing things to stage into the worlds you're creating.
Well, basically, I make it easy for myself generally. There's 2 ways of doing it. If I've got a background that I want to use with something, and that has happened occasionally, then if I know that as a starting point, I will then go out and photograph the objects lit from the right way to be exactly right. I can just put it. That's one option. I have taken, for instance, I did a Lego car a while back, a sports car. I wanted it in a location in this car park. So to do that, I went out there and it's raining. So I took a shot on the tripod of the overall scene. Then I dragged the camera over, and there's a pillar underneath the same lighting where I actually placed it in the rain and photographed it at the same time under the same lighting. So it's going to be lit from the right way and everything. I've got the 2 shots. When I put it together, it's a lot easier. All I have to do then is add the shadow underneath it, and any lighting I want to just add lit on the windscreen afterwards. So you can make it easy, or the other easy way of doing it is to shoot things with a neutral light if you're going to add things to it, because then you can literally highlight around the edges you want to darken, do a feather selection and darken those areas, and you can put the shadows and put the highlights in the same way the other way to add them, the contrast, to make it convincing as if it's lit right from the start. So there's a number of ways that you can do it.
I assume you're doing this all in Photoshop?
Yeah. I don't use Lightroom at all. I've got Lightroom on here as well. I've got the full suite of programs. So I use Illustrator as well. But generally, it's because I work in the design industry. I work more as a designer doing Photoshop. And obviously, I use for the Man Ray one. I put all those bits of cameras together as pixels. I did all that. I planned it all out in InDesign. So I use the full suite of Adobe programs to plan it out.
Yeah, I've been going through some of your photos here, and one thing, usually when you see people that post photos of this kind of compilations and collages and whatever, they're just god awful. These are pretty good. You've done an excellent job at these, because I mean, I'm talking about how the craft work is so terrible in so many of those photos. The craft work is immaculate here.
Can you show me something?
But I have to share my screen with, right? So They're on my photo stream. Tell you, if you go to my photo stream,
Yeah.
just my name, then you'll see them all on there. If you go open up another window for that, you can see. If you look at my name, they're all in Flickr under that name, Richard Sercombe.
Yeah,
So
go to one that Stonehenge, that Peghenge, and then
if you
click
go
his
to
name.
Peghenge, yes, right. Go to Peghenge, and you can click on that one, the one that's currently in the discussion. And as one or two people said, it doesn't look very convincing. That one, it looked more like a CGI, but like I say, it is all photography. It's all literally photographed.
And we had a bit of a conversation a couple of weeks back about this, because I think people get into kind of tangles about talking about, well, what's real photography? And when you think about the methods that you're sharing with us now, in terms, like, you are bringing, really sophisticated composition techniques and compositing techniques that go back to the very beginnings of photography. People were doing various tricks to kind of manipulate what images would look like through darkroom and other kinds of visual kind of arrangement on, using distance to create scale, through a camera exposure. And then now with the presence of AI, people are getting, kind of, on one hand, they're doing really imaginative, creative things that I think is also within the genre of photography in one way of thinking, in terms of a visual creative medium. But at the same time, I mean, working with the kind of tangible artifacts of photography, with light hitting something, on a sensor or film, and then producing that from the real world, is different than perhaps doing it entirely digitally through AI.
And it just means you have a connection to start with, like the Jurassic Park one I did the other day. For that one, that's a good example. That one there, I found a claw in a charity shop, a little claw. I thought, I'm going to do something with a dinosaur with this one. So I've got quite a few little dinosaur props, but there's one I photographed at a zoo a while back. They had a garden area, and it had so I knew what I was going to put in with that one for the dinosaur in the background. Then I did, but before I put anything together, I went out and bought a hat for the Jurassic Park hat, just so I could literally have a hat to be photographed in that I'm looking at quizzically whilst the dinosaur's behind me. So again, that's another example where I've got an attachment. I've found an object and I fold it through to control all the elements. But like I said, the thing is, with the AI now, it is very impressive what you can do in AI, and it's the sort of thing. At some point, I'm going to have to go back to proper photography at some point, because it's going to be the case that at the moment, I did try and recreate that picture, because someone said to me the same thing. You said, "Can you not just do that in AI now?" And I tried quite a number of attempts to create that picture, get AI to create a picture like that, and it can create different things that have a dinosaur in behind a person but it couldn't get anything like how I'd wanted that picture to look.
Right.
And like, for instance, the dinosaur, everything was all fully bright and things like that, like it was in a museum. One of the pictures it did, that isn't what I wanted. So you've got to go to such a degree to explain it that it doesn't do the picture that you want it to do. The worrying thing is, sometimes it come out with a great picture that you think, well, actually, if I'd seen that first, would I have liked that one better?
But you like to use AI?
I don't use AI yet, but the last one I'm contemplating at the moment and doing, I was going to do a set of robots in a scene, and based on a famous artist. I won't say who yet, because I'm thinking I might do that one. I think it'd be fun to do, but it's going to be a lot of work to do it, so I'm going to have to commit to a lot of hours. But before I do this, I'll just ask AI to do it to see what I'm up against. And AI came up with two different alternatives that were both, what I would say, look, if I saw somebody else do it on their photo stream, I thought, well, I would say that's impressive, but it isn't what I wanted, what I want to create. But it's very much, but I might have thought that is great. That image is fine. But so I mean, I did a little thing just to see what I would be up against if I was competing against AI, and it's the sort of thing people might prefer one of those to the one I eventually do.
And what about the image quality of the AI images that you've been able to create? Are they large? Are they small? Or
the bizarre thing is, so far I've ignored I've done Firefly. I've done that a few times. And I've had to go. You can do AI pictures together with it in Illustrator as well as Photoshop. But the most success I've had so far is seeing something, which I think that is quite fun, is actually in Google Gemini. Has anyone tried that?
No.
Right, so
I
that's
played a little
free.
bit.
And you have a little chat page. You key in what you want, create a photo of. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine wants me to, he's putting an album together for a band, and he wanted me to do the photography for it. So he's got 4 pictures, or he's got 4 crocheted like puppets of the band, and he wanted me to put them into different cover situations. So I chose Talking Heads and Weezer as 2 of the ones. But one he was really keen on was a couple of Beatles covers. One of them was The Help, where they're doing the semaphore. So I could arrange put these little crocheted figures to do each one. I picked the bass player to be Paul and so on. I got all the figures doing the right thing to match up with the cover of that, and then I just have to cut them out and put them on the coloured background for that one, for The Help. But the one he really wanted was the Abbey Road cover, and that's the bit I struggled with because I haven't got a picture of Abbey Road from that era. And I said, that's what I can't do unless because if you're going to use this as a cover that's commercially available for a record cover, you're going to have a picture that you can use for that background shot. I can put the 4 figures in. I shot the 4 cutouts exactly, or the 4 figures, and cut them out exactly right to match the poses of the Beatles going across Abbey Road on the zebra crossing. But so we parked that idea. Just the other day, I went into this Google Gemini. I said, create me a photo of Abbey Road in the 1970s without the Beatles. And it did a very, very good, reasonably high res reconstruction of that. And it had different cars in there. So it looked like a different picture of Abbey Road, but the cars were different pictures of the same era, different cars of the same era, done for the shot for the same position. But there's little differences here and there, and you had different people in the shot walking backwards and forwards. The faces were slightly blurred or garbled, not you couldn't pick out a face, so you'd have to have been gone through replacing some of the faces or knock them out of focus a bit. But it would have been a usable. I could use it. I might end up doing that for him and using that, because this is not for my work. This is for doing for a record cover. So he might. So for the record cover, he's got what he's got at the moment. He'll probably go with the ones I've done for the Help one or the Weezer cover, because they're simple cutouts on a coloured background. But this one he might use for a poster or something. So it'd be fun to do it. But I was amazed with certain things you can key into this Google Gemini, and the picture's good enough that you could literally open it up in Photoshop at 100%, then I generally tend to increase the resolution a little bit in that to get a higher resolution. So the anti-aliasing, you get sort of it doesn't go too blurry. If you do it in one step, it doesn't do a very good job. If you enlarge it in a few different steps, and you can definitely get one big enough to do a 12-inch record cover. Definitely with a.
You work only in color, Richard?
Fun?
You work only in color?
In color?
Yeah.
No.
Black and white
as well.
Yeah. I do a lot of black. At Camera Club, we've got a set of subgroups. So I belong to 2 of the subgroups, because the club's about 120, 130 people. So we have a number of subgroups. One of them is a black and white group. In fact, they've got so many people that like black and white. They've got another subgroup, which is too many to go in one subgroup. So they've got shades of grey. Well, I belong to the black and white group. So I do every month we submit photographs just to show each other in black and white.
I was looking at my mobile and going through your photos, but I only saw color. Therefore, I ask you.
No, they're all on there. I think I've had keepers before in the past in black and white as well.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to go back a bit further.
Richard, I just shared an image or a link in the chat that you might be interested in. This is a photographer artist called by the name of Phil Toledano. And I read this about a year or so ago, but some of what you're describing in terms of playing around with Gemini, like the idea of using Gen AI as almost a visualization tool and playing through concepts, I think is really, really valuable for people who are interested in just presenting and creating images. This guy kind of pushes it. He used to stage his photos and kind of carefully create through props and everything, things from the world, but he's now kind of exploring Gen AI. But the article is interesting because he's chosen to depict the America in the 1950s, which he kind of plays with the idea that that's about the last time we could trust images as maybe being true or factual.
Yeah.
And then he just pushes it in really kind of creatively delightful and somewhat unnerving ways. But again, I think that there's endless imaginative potential when you see artists using these tools.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah. But again, this is the sort of thing that I find inspiring, but I also find disheartening because it makes me think, what's the point in me doing it manually? It's like you look at that.
I think there's room for all of it, but like like the technical skill and the actual like the intersection of the physical photography you're doing with the things that you're introducing in post, I think are absolutely amazing, and I think that's a really strong thing. But like the stuff that he's doing here, I don't know that. Well, I don't know. I think
I mean, the first one is so complicated. That first one, and the start that link you sent, that is like unbelievable, isn't it? As far as the amount of the things that are in that. But you look at the second one, the one with her hair on fire, that is impressive. But you wonder how much. So if he didn't take any of those bits, did he have the original picture? This is what we don't know. We don't know whether he had the woman first, then added the fire. And we don't know.
And the thing is, you can do it both ways. You can completely generate an image like this, or you can take an image and then start working.
But then, how much of it does he have copyright on that? If that background with all the cars is somebody else's work.
Yep.
Yeah. And, it opens up all kinds of questions.
But I mean, very often the face could be made up of multiple different people's portraits to make the one face up. The whole thing, and the coat, some other picture. But I mean, does he actually own the copyright to the whole of that?
That's a question there.
Yeah, and so far they've found that Gen AI doesn't create copyright.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting aspect to this strange time we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, my oldest son does album covers and work like that, and he creates things from photographs he takes and makes gigantic composites with hundreds of layers in Photoshop.
Yeah.
And he's been very interested in some of the stuff he's been able to do with AI. But I think I think it's a big difference between what you enjoy doing, and he really likes creating these thin slivers of layers and things, as opposed to using some type of text prompts.
Yeah,
you sort of lose that tactile thing going on. Like I love using a camera.
Yeah, you lose control. I mean, I like to control everything, the lighting, and produce everything exactly how I want it. And you get something, but it isn't necessarily what you envisage, first of all. And like I say, you haven't got that control over it. I mean, is it the case that you get something, you think, well, that's good enough? Or do you, because obviously I won't get thought of any more highly then for an image that I produce to somebody else in AI. They might look at the AI one and thinking, well, they're both equally good, but I mean, not, but they might just be with this Google Gemini thing. It's literally probably about 20 seconds to create an image that you think that's unbelievable. That if I had to do that manually, that could take me like 20 hours or more. This latest one I've been working with, which involves so much detail, I did one quick description in Google Gemini, and it came up with 2 pictures that would make a very good basis for what I want to do. But it would take me 20 hours to do all the pictures, all the different things in the right order, get to recreate that. It does it in 20 seconds.
And it's going more fast, of course, than you can think. It's going very quickly, but maybe it helps you with your imagination as well. So
it certainly gives me a bar that I know I've got to beat. It does that, certain.
It's making things that you never thought of. So maybe it helps you to think in a way that you normally don't think.
Yeah.
I was reading an essay written by a German philosopher by the name of Walter Benjamin. It was written about 1931, a few weeks ago, and he was writing about the history of photography about 100 years after its invention. And one of the comments that he kind of explored, or the characteristics he explores in it, is just how radical it was that with the introduction of photography, people who were painters and portrait painters in particular suddenly had to deal with the fact that someone using a camera could capture an image so rapidly, where previously the economy of creating an image like that would take, hours or days or weeks of, painting production and such. And at the same time, by modern standards, when you looked at a photographer studio of that time, like back in the 1840s or 50s, they needed to have these like elaborate props and such that allowed people to be supported, because they had to stand for like minutes at a time in a position in order to be properly exposed. But this idea of what you just said in terms of how quickly one could create with Gemini, well, this idea of technology changing the conditions by which we reproduce and the speed of reproduction and the nature of reproduction, it's part of the history of photography, and it's part of the history of segueing into generative AI as a creative medium for image generation. So it's really fascinating how these things continue to evolve, and the implications of that, because some people are still kind of playing between painterly and photographic and other kinds of ways of representing the world.
There's a picture on Wikipedia. There's the Arne Feely portrait. The what is it? Jan van, was it EYCK? However he's
Jan Van Eyck, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a painting there that was allegedly used not with a camera, before cameras, but where he used the. They reckon he used the device to
camera obscura.
Yeah, camera obscura.
Yeah.
Vermeer, Jan van Vermeer did the camera obscura too. And there are people saying he cheated with that. Said anybody can make a Vermeer painting by using a camera obscura, which is total baloney.
Sounds like a Dutchman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, with your photography, with your composites and stuff like that, so do you ever enter these into photography shows? Because I'm at a photography club here in Bloomington, Indiana, and some of the people that do these kind of composite things that do a very good job, they don't have much luck getting into juried shows.
To be fair, I don't enter into many competitions at all. I do the club competition, and what you generally find very often, like in club competitions, certainly, I've had some years I have great success, and so I have something that wins the visual arts section. But I did one a while back on my photo stream with a picture of a boat, and that's made up a couple of pictures of Canada and a building I found in Poole, and the inspiration for that was the building I found in Poole. But that's a rare case, because generally anything like that generally doesn't do very well. We had one judge one year before she started the competition said, "I'm a wildlife photographer." And I thought, right, I'm in trouble here. So I put 2 points in, and I was right. I was in trouble. And literally, especially the wildlife ones, she spent ages talking about what she liked, what she didn't like, and why that was going to go through to the next section, and so on. And I made a picture of Frank Hornby. I don't know if anyone's aware of Frank Hornby. He's very big. He bought Trier. He was the inventor of the model railways. The model railways you have, which go around, big over here in the UK, and he was a real founder. He's the founder of the whole idea of that. So I thought I'll do a portrait of him, but using railway figures. So I spent 2 days. I did a thing at an illustrator to get his portrait right. I planned it all out, marked it all on Fomex. So I had these little figures. I bought a packet from China. I had to wait for a month for these things to come through from China. About 500 figures come through, all white. So I thought I'll do it all with the shadows. And I had to glue every single one of them down in the right position. So when the shadow would work, I'd get his portrait. Eventually, I mean, of all of these different figures. So it looks like there's all these figures just are all walking through a scene, and then you see his face when it's lit. And it took me 2 days to do that, because obviously what you don't realize is every time you put a figure down, great. The next one you do, you push it down and you hold this figure down so the feet will stick to the Fomex. Unfortunately, every second or third one, you take your finger away, and the residue on your finger from the one before that lifts it straight off again. So you end up re-gluing. It took me 2 days to get this thing together. So this is the one I entered that year, and this is the one who likes to do this nature photography. She looked at it and said, "Well, it's some people, isn't it?" Yeah. Next one. And that's all I got. The only criticism I got was, "Oh, it's some people, isn't it?" And she had spent at length talking about every other picture, but especially particularly the wildlife ones. So you do get that. And it's one of, you just got to accept the fact that some years, some people, some judges are better than others, and some years it's going to be your year. But generally, if it's a close run thing, a real, like what you would call a real genuine one shot picture that is spectacular will always win out, even on something that's just, you know, with just taking more time. That the time is irrelevant. The final image, you might have two images that you might like, but it'll generally go to the one shot one. That's especially if it's a great shot, then obviously that's going to win every time. So it's definitely a thing against composites, but that's not a good reason to not do it.
There's definitely a bias against it. Like if you go into like the greatest photos of the year or blah, 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 you never see composites in those. So I'm wondering if, since you do this, it sounds like there ought to be enough interest where people would actually have their own lists of great photos, great images. But I don't know, maybe somebody like you need to start beating their banner and go, hey, you guys get together.
I think it's too late now. No AI's out the back. I think it's gone too late for me. But I have to, like I say, before I did too much of that. I've always done a bit of the composite thing, but there's a lot of my photos. If you go back, I used to be in compositions, little sections of compositions. Then I went on more travel photography, but particularly I do a talk that I go around. I've done different clubs on night photography. So if you go back far enough in my photo stream, you will see a lot of night shots of buildings and things. You know, particularly I've done like Valencia, places like that. I like architecture and night photography. So I don't just do composites, and obviously you'll see quite a lot of black and white. If it's black and white, I tend to put up certainly on Flickr, tend to be infrared ones. But I do a lot of black and white as well.
Yeah, I think your architecture photos are exquisite.
You've got to have you've got to have a love of doing obviously a love of architecture to do it, haven't you? But like I say, I haven't done too much night photography of late because I had an unfortunate incident where I got attacked one night down in Plymouth, which is my hometown, literally right in the middle of a high street. So I ended up obviously in hospital on that one. But so it became very difficult for me to go to camera clubs and promote how safe it was and how great it was to go out and inspire people to go out and do night photography when I've been attacked. So I've sort of kept a bit quieter on that side of the things now.
When you go out with that kind of photography, what kind of camera do you use?
I've got a Pentax full frame that I use, which is what I'd call my proper camera. My other proper camera is my K5 converted infrared, which goes out with me as well. But my actual camera that I end up using is very often my iPhone on regular for things. Unless it's a shot, I'm thinking I love that. I'm going to use that for a specific thing. I want it absolutely high res, then I'll get the full frame one out, get the tripod out, and do it properly. If it's a shot, I want to have that. I like bits of that or whatever. I like to look back at that scene. Then I'll often just use my phone, and use that. But I do put it on. There's a couple manual things you can do, because one thing with an iPhone, you can get a grainy shot, especially at night, and you can override that by choosing obviously a manual exposure. So there's a couple of different programs you can do. One's just called manual as well, and you just choose those that override all the settings. So you get you can choose to shoot at 50 ISO or 50 ASA.
RAW? Do you shoot RAW?
I shoot RAW on the K1. For the converted one, I have to hold my hand. I should shoot RAW, but I tend to shoot JPEG, and I have that on my screen on the back to set black and white. And all the shots I end up shoot then will always be exactly what I see on the back of the screen. So because with infrared, it's amazing because obviously there's so much variety with infrared. If you're looking at one direction, you get a completely different result if you look at the other direction. So I sort of know where the sun is, what sort of shot I'm going to get. But very often you put the camera up, you look at the back of the screen thinking, no, I'm not taking that. That's not going to work. Not how I want it to work. Then you may look the other way or whatever you want to do to find a better shot. So it's the sort of thing very much you can never be 100%. You can't predict it. So it's 100%. So I tend to have the monitor on the back of the infrared camera constantly, and I have it so it saves it exactly how I've seen it on the back of the camera. But that don't mean to say that's the final shot. I will then go in. Sometimes I will underexpose it, knowing I'm going to darken or lighten different areas just to boost different areas. And I generally, but the thing with infrared is, which is so great with infrared, is you can go out in full sunshine. So when you don't go out and take pictures normally, infrared, that's great because you get contrasty shadows. Because everybody thinks infrared, you just go out, it's a quirky, gimmicky thing where you get white grass. In actual fact, if you go out and use it particularly, and I have got some like some plastic flowers that I've had to go out using before to stick in the shot to make sure they don't go white and things like that. And you can compose a shot looking at shadows, and you can get some great shots. So where you have a limited amount of things going white, they can often work better in infrared, depending on how you're doing it, how graphic you want to make it.
Yeah, I shot infrared ectochromes back in the 1970s a few times. It was a lot of fun. Now, how do you manage focusing with infrared?
Right, I just have it all on auto, and what I tend to do in every shot I take, I make sure I get better white focus first of all, autofocus. Then I look at it and make sure I absolutely zoom in and look at it after the take of the shot is what I want absolutely in focus. And 9 times out of 10 it is. So I stick with that. I just choose the aperture I want, then I make sure it focuses on the bit I want, and if I have to adjust the position of the camera afterwards and take the shot, without letting go of the shutter, I'll do it that way.
Well, Teddy, I'm curious about that comment because I know on film, infrared focuses a slightly different place than does regular within regular light band. But is that the case on a digital sensor too?
I've not noticed that being that different. No, again, because I just shoot with a back monitor, I just do it that method all the time. I normally go for about f8, f11 to take a good average as well. But that generally works
within the latitude.
Yeah, when I zoom in afterwards, everything seems to be okay and pin sharp. When I zoom in 100%.
When you zoom in, are you talking about the image itself through the?
Oh, that first of all, before I walk away, I always check the image. What I tend to find, I've got glasses here, for instance. These glasses do me. I've got 3 different focal lengths on this. One is for close up, one is for screen rendering, which is better, for just a bit further away than I am now. And the other one's for driving and long distance, and it's always sharper with the glasses on, either that way that. So very often, and if I'm out, rather keep on putting the glasses on, back to forwards, I will literally look at and then hold the camera away and zoom in really close, and I mean really close to check it's in focus, rather keep switching between glasses and stuff like that.
Yeah, checking the images afterwards would be a good thing. It sounds to me like you're getting some help from your depth of field because of your tight apertures, because infrared won't autofocus. I mean, the old lenses had a little red dot on the focusing barrel. Whenever you did get it in focus, you needed to move that to that red dot to actually.
I have that on the Pentax. On the Pentax, I have a little confirmation of which bit it's focusing on. A little thing, and you have a beep when it focuses, and it shows you what bits it's focusing on.
Yeah, but there used to be on some lenses they would show that little offset for an infrared focus on the scale focus indicators.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that on any of the lenses I've got. The offset.
I'll bet you if you got some of those lenses back there, it's got that red dot right next to the edge of the. Because all my old lenses had that, just a little red dot. It didn't really say anything. It didn't have any label on it.
Right, there's an old one. That's a Pentax there, and it's not to get my glasses out now, isn't it? Look, let's have a look at that one.
Looks like a store, eh?
Yeah, that's what I thought at first. He was shooting in a camera store.
No. So this one, where would it be, do you think?
It'd be on the focusing barrel. If it would depend on the lens. Is it a removable lens?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a screw mount. So this is quite an old lens.
Yeah. Let me see if I get. Where did I put my?
Yeah, I'm looking at an old lens too.
I got an old Nikkor 50 millimeter from 1972.
I found it, Teddy, on an old Pentax lens. Just a minute, with my camera on, so I can see what I'm showing you. Okay, I don't know if you'll be able to see. There's a little red dot there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One.
You can see it.
So you would use that to focus in the infrared spectrum.
Yeah.
That's not on any of my lenses, though, right?
This is an old, this is a 50 millimeter 1.4. also a radioactive lens. So it's got radioactive glass in it.
Wow. Yeah. I'll have to investigate my. I've got a Pentax section. I've got a Nikon section. I've got all different sections everywhere.
Oh, do you have,
This is an old
do you have a Kodak Pony? Do you have a Kodak Pony?
Pony. I don't think I've got one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
that-
is
that
an
might be only in
M22.
America.
So this is screw mount. So an old screw mount Kakuma or Pentax will have it.
Oh yeah, this is
Typically.
a screw mount Pentax. This is what's this one? This is a Maya optic one. So maybe that won't have. That's not a Pentax lens. Right, what's that one? That is the Pentax lens either. Right, my other Pentax section. I've got one up there. That one. Right, the other one is a bit too far for me to get to at the minute. I've got one way off the screen, right at the top of my hat. I can't get to that one at the minute, but I have got an old one around that, which is a genuine Pentax lens. I have actually got one I do use occasionally, which is an A series lens, but I'm guessing that's going to be too modern. That's a bayonet. There's a film bayonet one.
Yeah.
That I've got
Yeah,
packed away.
my own Nikons are like that with bayonets. Yeah.
Like I say, I've not had any issues so far. I'm not shooting on F8 or F11. I did quite a batch the other day, that method, and I say I get a confirmation of where it says it's focusing. That tends to be what I get. But I do zoom in before. I don't leave anywhere, but as I zoom in and make absolutely sure, particularly if I'm hand holding.
Catherine's been another member in Weekly has been sharing some images lately. I think with a Sony modified camera that are in so full spectrum.
I've seen them. Yeah,
it's really what I really love about infrared exposures is just that luminance of all of the white and just the shift you get.
It's so different though. It's so different. Whichever way you're looking at, wherever the light's hitting it, it can completely change. I can get a shot with no white foliage at all, depending on which way you shoot it and how bright it is. You could end up with something with no white foliage, just mixture of greys. But so like I mean, it doesn't without the contrast you get.
Right. And you did this with a K5. It's a modified K5.
I've got a K5. Yeah, that's in my camera bag.
Oh, but that's the modified one you did.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got two K5s.
K3 I should modify.
Yeah. Obviously, that's better than my K5.
by two.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of K5s. I thought, right, I'm going to do infrared. I bought like a little budget one, like all-in-one compact with have a little test of water. And I thought, actually, I really enjoyed doing infrared shots. So I'm going to actually invest. It costs about £300 to have a conversion done. Because the thing is, if you go onto eBay, you can get a Nikon or a Canon quite easily already converted for not too much money. Then you've got another camera that you've got spare for doing it. But I thought, I've got so many Pentax lenses, I'm going to stick with Pentax and just do that. I mean, it's one of those stupid decisions I think I made back in the day where Pentax were the last people to start doing the SLR out of all the big brands. And because I had several film cameras that were Pentax and so many lenses, I did a thing because I wanted to do lots of different shots for a website. I went down the Nikon route and did a little compact. One of those. I think you were mentioning the other day the Coolpix 450, and then they had a 950. Then I had the S10. That same thing where the lens twizzles round. I'll tell you where it's great for. If you want to do portraits of like candid shots of like street scenes and things like that, you can literally stand there as if you're looking at the back of your phone or whatever. It looks like you're looking at that. In actual fact, you can just take a picture. You can just move along. I got a great shot a while back. It was quite funny. This chap, he just stood like posing outside a shop, and he had 3 showroom dummies in line, and they all looked like they're all standing there together. But he was real, and he did no idea that I was taking it, and I was probably only about 3 feet in front of him. I used one of those Coolpixes, and I showed that at Camera Club. And there's a chap there. This is in London, in Camden. There's a chap at Camera Club who originally was in London. He said, that's so and so. I know his shop straight away. He knew him straight away, and he couldn't believe that I hadn't spoken to him taking that shot. And of course, I was using that cool pics. So that's why. So basically, I ended up going through 3 generations of the Nikon ones before Pentax actually then joined the club and that released the SLR, which was the K10, wasn't it? I think it was. So I got that one originally, then traded it in for the K20, then I went on to K5s and so on.
I think it's quite difficult for you when you go out to make a photo. What camera you make a choice of?
No, it's very simple. Just those 3 I mentioned already: the full frame, the infrared, and my phone. It's very, very simple now. The other ones are generally shelf sitters. I've got a spare. I've got a K50, which is a bright red one, which is quite a nice camera. But I tend to stick with the reason I stick with the ones I've got as well. The K5 and the K1, they both use the same battery, whereas the K50 uses a different battery for some reason. They chose for that. All the other makes they've gone through, the SLR, they've used the same battery. So I've got an armory of these batteries, and it's much easier for me to go out just when I'm traveling around to have just the one that charges one
when
battery.
when you make your choice, you leave 100 cameras in the home.
Well, yeah, yeah. The film cameras, they're literally because I love cameras. And I because of my love of cameras, I've done several. I did a picture of a portrait of Susan Sontag.
Oh yeah.
But I did a portrait of her. It's on Flickr as well on my photo stream, and it's all made up of I did a whole background of cameras, all my cameras blended together. And I put like a wash over it, but basically there's a picture of her which is quite fat. I did it because it's somebody else's picture. I did an illustration of the basic shape like a drop tone. I put it over the top of the other ones and did a drop shadow to it, so it looks like I said. This literally was Susan Sontag on photography, with all the background with it, named after her book.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got that book.
Yeah. It's a great book. But like I say, it's one of those things. I've done portraits of different people with an object or using things that might be relevant to them. But obviously, I've deliberately chosen Susan Sontag and obviously Man Ray because I like to use pictures I like to use my camera collection in pictures. So that's a bit of a bias for that. But I'm going through. I have to say I've been very disappointed of late because I was looking for a picture because I've got so many. You wouldn't believe my collection of pegs I've got. I've got pegs everywhere, all different types, different colors, different pastel ones, bright ones. And I planned to do a portrait of the inventor of pegs. So I did some research, and over in America, there's 2 different people who are credited with the invention of the peg, the clothespin you call over there, yeah. Mm-hmm. And with the actual spring bit. And I thought, right, I'll do a portrait of that person, or either one of them 2, with pegs. And I can't find it. Was they invented it just before cameras became popular. Just before. So literally within about 20 years, too early for me to have. And I cannot find any picture of that. Is it Vermont? I think it was. Both of them were in the same area. And I actually wrote to a museum there. Said, do you have any pictures, a painting or a photograph of any kind of either of these 2 people? And so far, I've been disappointed. No one's got any pictures of them. So that would be the ultimate for me. That combines 2 passions: portraits of people with of objects made out of their objects, and obviously pegs as well. I've been 2 in one hit. But so far, it might end up having to be a self-portrait of me because of my obsession with pegs. But that won't mean a lot to anybody else. So I'd much rather find a picture. I'm still in hope one day I'll find a picture of one of those 2 inventors.
So I'm hearing a lovely creative collision of obsessions.
Yeah. I've got more obsessions. I think you've commented before. I did a thing because I also do sci-fi posters. So like the War of the Worlds poster the other day, but with cameras. That was last week, wasn't it? I think I did that one last week, War of the Worlds. But I
like that one. I called that the upgraded K1 that Pentax has been promising.
That was the Ricoh.
It was a Ricoh. It was a Ricoh camera.
Yeah,
I saw that you took some of the pictures with the K1.
Yeah. So that was done with the K1. All the shots for that. The actual background of that is one of those dodgy places up in Glasgow in Scotland. There's a housing estate which they literally ended up closing down. They're trying to get all the last 5 or 6 residents out of there because they want to knock the whole place down. But what the problem with the whole housing estate, how it is done, is that it disintegrated into drug abuse and things like that. And then people got into some of the places, people moved out. Some people then got into some places, set fire to some of the bits of building. So it's a proper dodgy place to go around. There's only 5 people in this massive set of housing blocks, and they've got these metal barricades to stop people from getting in. But some of them are down on the ground. So I thought, right, I'm going to go in, and I wanted to take some pictures. Well, background picture was taken in one of those courtyards. So that was the ideal background for me to do that disaster thing of War of the Worlds. But yeah, but like I say, all of these places mean something to me. They're all pictures I've taken, all the different things. But you'll notice that that's one example of a sci-fi poster. That's another obsession. And I did one a while back for Silent Running, which I had quite a few comments on in the weekly. And the overall thing was that people didn't like the top area, which I changed that. I did act on the changes suggested in the weekly, which is very helpful. And I'd done a set of, so I don't know if anyone knows the film Silent Running.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right, so that especially now, that's more relevant, obviously, with the situation we're in now with global warming and the loss of the environment we're getting at the moment. So I thought that'd be a good one to do. So near me and down in Cornwall, I say near me, a couple of hours away, you've got a place called the Eden Project, and it had just these domes. So literally, it's got the biodomes, all these things going on, which is perfect for me to do for the part of the picture. And I did it again with sci-fi with cameras. So I've got the Huey and Dewey characters from that. There's a couple of cameras. If you do know the film, which it looks like, where are they? I've got them. There they are. So Kodak did these 2 cameras, which are very similar and very. Huey and Dewey were very similar.
Yeah, I've got one of those. I think the one on my left, in your right hand.
So I used those 2 pictures for Huey and Dewey because the essential bits, the detailing is the same sort of look, but you can see they're different. So that's the one everyone commented on in weekly quite a while ago. But the general comment was, although I'd made a space scene. It took me ages to tell you to cut out the biodome, the glass windows, to put space behind it, and the starscape, and adding all the reflections on the glass to show it's a biodome. After I've done it, it took me such a long time. And the comment in the weekly was that everybody thought the top area was a bit plain compared to all the bits down the bottom bit, and that was the main criticism. So I did change that, and I found another shot of another biodome from the outside, and I made another one of the biodomes floating outside at the top left-hand corner. But that was a very positive contribution. The negative feedback on weekly helped me a lot and I corrected it and changed it after when the voting was finished. I then updated that picture with what should have been, which had been pointed out in weekly. It made a much better picture. But again, the basis is sci-fi and cameras. So there's been several of them in the past. On my photo stream, there's a few of them. So there's several different strands of obsession. I'm not limited to one obsession.
No, I think obsession. You need to have some obsession to be an artist.
Yeah.
If you get like a musician, if you're going to be a really good musician, you got to be obsessed with playing the instrument.
Yeah.
Or that's how you make yourself better. I mean.
Yeah, this is how you grow, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you do everything everybody tells you, or do you make a choice of it?
So no, I'm quite happy if people, like they say, if people criticize anything. Weekly again, it's absolutely brilliant. So I've been trying to get a lot of people from my camera club to join weekly, but people don't like criticism generally.
Me too. Yeah, same thing with my camera club. Nobody.
Nobody. I mean, and I say it's a good thing. It's a good thing because I submitted a picture a while back, and it was doing okay in weekly, and I was really happy with it. And it's a picture of a glacier in Iceland, and I had and literally at some point about 5 comments saying how amazing and so on like that. 5 really positive comments, and that the 6th comment was like, yeah, that's very good. I think it was Puss in Boots might have said it. So, but yeah, great. But you've got 3 dust spots in this. You promise us so much, then you deliver us something with dust spots at free flight. And from that point onwards, it took a nosedive. And I've never knowingly submitted a picture to Weekly ever again with dust spots. I've never knowingly ever supplied a picture to Weekly with any vertical that's slightly off. It's either got to be the proper tilt, or it's got to be. I do square, make sure it's pedantic and making sure things are absolutely square.
Yeah, dust spots for me, I mean, I'll point it out in a photo, but I'll never free flight it. I mean, I just think it's common courtesy to say, hey, you know what? You probably could take care of that pretty
I
good.
learned, but
Yeah.
you can't. I learned from that, changed it, and that's so. I mean, it's the sort of thing. It makes you look at your pictures properly.
You learn
before
from
you submit them.
and you learn from it, and you next time you take more care. So you check
definitely.
yourself more because when you don't do, you get problems. So
The problem is when
you
you're
learn to check yourself more, and even you check too much sometimes. So
the other thing is as well, particularly with Weekly, is that if you put something up that's got an obvious flaw in it, if people are undecided, but they have to find something to say about it, they'll use that. They'll dive on that one bit, and then you don't get the criticism about everything else that you might want criticism about. You'll get criticism on the one bit that you should have really spotted before you put it up. So it's the sort of thing. It's very hard when so a lot of pictures when you see on Weekly, don't know how anyone else does it. I start off, I look at them and thinking, I love all those. They're easy to comment on. There's 3 on there straight away. Do not like those ones, but I've got to think of a way to say why I don't like it. The harder ones for me to comment on are the ones that I look at, and you don't have anything you think of that you can. You don't necessarily dislike them, but you don't like them. But do you think I don't like that picture enough to say it's a keeper because there's just nothing to tip me over the edge to make it the keeper. They're the hardest ones, aren't they?
Yeah, it depends as well on what kind of critic you get. So, for example, when you get critics about technical things, well, technique is technique, so it's good or wrong. So there you can do anything. You can do something, but if it's about the story, then it's a different cookie because our story you want to tell, other people have to understand. And sometimes this message is not coming over. It's not. You cannot tell it.
There's a common knowledge thing about how there's supposed to be 3 critical elements in a photograph, and one is good lighting, good composition, and good storytelling, which instead of storytelling, I call the narrative. But what is the storytelling in a lot of photos like architecture? What's the storytelling? I mean, that's still a beautiful photo. So you can't just automatically say this is a characters like dogs looking at chasing a cat, or a person kissing a woman, or whatever. So what is the narrative in something where it doesn't have creatures involved?
But in that case, I would argue that the narrative is the composition of what I mean, if you look at it, instead of looking at it as architecture, if you look at it as lights and darks, it's very often with architecture, it's the composition and where the lights and darks are which create the image. So it isn't that necessarily about a story in that instance, but it's very much a composition is the narrative, isn't it?
That's pretty much the same thing. I think it's where the eye is led. That's where the eye goes by shapes, light, lines, so forth. Like something completely abstract, there's no story at all. However, it can be absolutely beautiful.
Exactly. There's rules, but then then you can break the rules. And sometimes when you break the rules works just as well as or better sometimes.
Well, I would argue that there are rules. I think rules are great to use when you're first learning photography. But eventually you need to look at these instead of rules as tools that you either use or you don't use. Because if you're gonna have a good photograph or any image, there's got to be something going on, either a good use of space or rhythm or repeated patterns. Something's happening. Can't have nothing, that's not been already discussed about compositionally with art for hundreds of years.
and you might take a picture of what you call interesting. It might have an interesting picture, but how it's processed, it looks like flat. It might not grab you, move your eye around enough. So it might have an image with more potential. So yeah, definitely that. But then also the light and darks do come into it. Even if you got a shot which would have been perfect, adding those other elements to it makes it a definite, wow shot rather than an okay shot.
I just pulled one of your images up, Richard, the Mennonite reservoir dogs. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm a Reservoir Dogs fan, so I go.
I'll pop the link in so you can find it quickly. So again, it's also I think it's how you see, right? Because anyone could take a picture, but it's what you see, and you've framed it in a way with the title there that just kind of boom lands it.
But even on that shot there, I'll tell you now straight away, it is one shot, but the girl second in on the right. I moved one of them in because the person behind, you see, which is just behind on the left hand side, that's the girl on the left. I moved her, shunted her, so they're all linked together. So I could lose the person behind who's looking over the shoulder.
Right.
So it joined them together. So again, I did that in Photoshop. I just literally blended it down, a feather blend, and then a harder blend around the arm and the bag and so on, around where that is, and just pulled her over a bit. So otherwise, it wouldn't have been as good an image.
Yeah,
I've got a friend of mine who's got that picture on his wall.
Yeah.
So I have all my photos.
I'm
that's the only
impressed
way
by
he's got
how people see, and it's that I think is a key element in terms of what people present, whether it's a landscape, a shot of a flower, or a shot of a crowd, because you're always making a selection in terms of what you're framing. And there's a lot of kind of creative, intentional, and whimsical ways in which we can see the world and present that to others.
Well, I would say the difference between what you do with your composites and stuff like that, I'll go out and then I'll get some ideas. I'll have some inspiration. Go, oh, look at this. I can need it. So this is the photo I'm going to take. But when you do your composites, you're planning something. You've got an idea.
Like quite often I'll take all the. I did one. I've got one on there as well with like a bus. I literally did another instance where I took the bus to the location. Right, and I waited and got a tripod, waited for a bus to stop at the location I wanted at the bus stop. Took a picture of it. Then I went back. Then I took another picture of it without the bus, without moving the camera when the bus moved off. Then I've got a bus that I could then match up and photograph at the same location to moved it down near the bus stop to get the same angle as the one I just taken. Then I had the exact position, and I could put 3 layers together and I had the exact where to position the bus. So I know it's going to look right and it matched the other bus that was there before deleting that layer. So I put but it's good as well to interlock things. If you're going to drop something in, have like a bit. And that is have the bit of the bus shelter cutting in to the bus shelter, cutting into the bus. So the things that you link things together, you're sort of just placing something somewhere. You have to have something that overlaps something. The more complicated composite looks, as far as it makes it look less like a composite then. If you got things deliberately placed with other things going over them or something in some place over it, so not like plonked. That's a bus over that side. There's a bus stop on the right hand side. If you have them linked together better and they're like playing off with one or the other, then that makes it more convincing.
Yeah, in animation terms, you're keeping everything in registration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, how long have you been doing photography, Richard?
Right. So depends what you call photography.
Using cameras.
Using cameras. I had a Kodak Instamatic, like with the cartridge thing on the back.
126 film.
That was when that was back in the 70s. So that's the sort of camera. That's what when I went over, I did the first cruise. I did that holiday pictures, but I've taken obviously travel photography then. That's when I was at school. So right away from then, and I've carried on with photography, learning all the way. So first actual SLR was a Zenit. So I would have had that. I was about 20. And I quickly found that I wasn't happy with the Zenit E. I went over to that's when I went over to the Pentax Super A at that era, and so I've been literally all the way through taking pictures. but obviously the subject matter has changed. What I've taken, and like you say, you have different reasons for taking pictures. I was recording what I was seeing as holiday snaps before, when I was at school and just afterwards. Then I moved into, with my first Zenit camera, the early 20s. I was trying to capture compositions, because went to art college. After art college, particularly looking at compositions, but then things changed a bit. As particularly when I joined a camera club, and you get exposed to different people, different working methods, and then I realised some of the passions I had, I could then bring through, like the art side of it, and you just expand always.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a natural progression. So obviously, yes, I've always used cameras, but it's what you do. It changes over the years, doesn't it? Your interests change. And so I did one recently. I don't know if I put it up yet, of John Peel, who is a famous DJ over here. So I'm going to be doing a portrait of him, but obviously to weekly, that won't mean anything to pick weekly, because I don't think many people have heard of John Peel, DJ. But he's the one who broke punk music and indie music on the national radio in the UK. Back in the early 70s, so he was playing. He had what he called the graveyard shift, basically, because he played. He insisted, because they got him from a pirate radio and broadcast station who were deemed illegal. He was then carried over when he became one of the official. He was so popular, and he used to play demos from bands, all sorts, on national radio, and he launched a lot of careers. But to do it, he had to accept being on from like 10 till 12 at night. He had every night he'd be on 10 to 12, and so I mean he's iconic to a lot of people who are into music over in the UK.
Yeah, here in the United States, most people would think they would know who Mrs. Peel is. But no, then John.
So again, I'm going to have. I might. I think I might put it into weekly, that one, but I might upload it and put it in. I will tell you now, it didn't do very well in my camera club. They didn't do it well at all, to be fair. Again, it's a sort of semi-composite, because I did a portrait of him, because he used to do demos with tapes, and everybody back then, you would record his show, but you wouldn't record all of it. You'd hit record and record some one track, but he'd go from reggae to punk to alt pop, then back to anything. There's no barrier or anything he wouldn't play. So you'd like something, say electronic or underground, and you didn't never know what was coming up next. So people all over the country were recording his shows onto tape, bits of it, so I used one of my tapes I did back in the day, back in the early 80s, and emptied it out, spooled it around, and I made his face with the tape. So I've done a portrait with one of my tapes that I've recorded from his shows, and then I just put it on. When I photographed it, I added the background, like make it like it's on a wooden background, and did different things like that. And I put his name on the actual tape, but it's a genuine tape from one of his shows. So it'd be interesting to see people. Obviously, this is the sort of trouble. Obviously, with the problem, I'll put it into weekly, but there's too much going on behind the scenes, and you can't show that in a picture.
Yeah,
there's a lot of the picture you just can't show as to why I've done it or the method. But overall, hopefully people will like the picture for what it is, without having to know all the backstory.
Yeah, well, sometimes when you put something in weekly, you maybe put up the ones that you wonder about. Well, yeah. I don't know about that, and this just to see what people have to say about it, because you learn more with that than something that they're guaranteed to love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, have you ever done any darkroom work?
Only at college. No, I had great ideas again doing darkroom work. I set up my attic to put all the safe lights in. I got all the gear, got the enlarger. Then I ran into the problem when it worked out how much it's going to cost me to have running water up there and things like that. I thought, nah. And it's in my hot attic, got no ventilation up there. The amount of work I'd have to do to make it viable, I ended up, because I used to use that. What's that? The 400 Ilford P4, is it?
Yeah, and then there was a Triax 400. Triax was another one. Triax.
Yeah, I used that as well at one point. But obviously, you could just use the normal color processing. You could just send it up to get color processing for that. The that Ilford one and the normal color processing, you just get your black and white pictures back, but so there wouldn't be a delay. You wouldn't have to go through a special process. You could
Well,
go through film processing, normal color film processing.
yeah, if you wanted to, you could do it in your kitchen, just develop the film with no darkroom and then scan the negatives. And
Yeah.
of course, you miss that whole creating prints
Yeah.
from the negatives experience, but you could still do film without having an elaborate darkroom.
That's a good point. That is a very good point. So I have got the little dev thing. I've got the little I've got all the gear. So,
Yeah, I did a lot of extensive darkroom work from the 70s to the late 80s, and I'm just totally burned out on darkroom. I mean, I think it was a whole lot of fun, but I'll tell you what, I think Photoshop, that's where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. I'm not going to never go back in another darkroom.
Fewer chemicals in Photoshop.
Yeah, contact dermatitis, especially if you get into color chemicals.
Yeah. There's a chap at Camera Club in the past has come up with some creative things. He has got one of those any camera that's got, for instance, a top viewer, and you photograph down through the top of the viewer. You've seen that done before?
Oh yeah, Yashica, that's a twin lens reflex. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just get a shot looking down through there.
Yeah.
In bright daylight, and you get that vintage look. And I imagine if you've got an armory of cameras like this, which I have, I could go out and I would get all the different dots and the grungy bits of hairs and things in different places, by using a variety of different ones of these.
Yeah, I had a Maya 645. You could pop the lens off so that you could have a little cap that would open it up to look down to ground glass. So it was exactly like that. And of course, that's a different angle because you're literally lowering the camera to a different angle, so you're more likely to have an interesting point of view.
You've got those old Brownie cameras behind you. You could just pop one of those on the back
of
a lens.
So I've got a whole batch of these. I've got quite a lot. It's not just Kodak. I've got a huge amount of them. And obviously the problem is the chap only showed us at Camera Club. He only had the one camera. So every picture he showed us, all the hairs and grain were always in the same place. Or you'd recognize whereas if you had a variety of them, there'd be a nightmare setting up to get them to work. You'd have to have a method to obviously get the right distance they're down there to focus them and cut the lighting out on the side. So you have to do a cone or something to do it properly, but it's probably doable. It's one of those things. It's a product that's in the back of my mind at some point, but there's plenty of other things that are in front of it in the queue.
So normally what we do, I come up with a list of things to talk about, but since you're new, it was really good to get to know you with all this stuff. So it was really good to do this stuff. And we sort of touched on the whole narrative thing, which is one of the things I kind of harp on with narrative, because I think that's important to keep in mind what's going on with the narrative. And I still want to explore more myself. And also I'm starting to explore the concept of authenticity, what that might mean to an individual photographer. In your case, with your composites and stuff like that, I'm saying somebody could argue, like the type of photography I do, that stuff is not authentic. However, from your point of view, that's your artistic vision. And that the authenticity of your artistic vision is what's makes all the difference in the world. And your artistic vision is equal to anyone else's, regardless of if they think they're a pure photographer or not.
Yeah.
So what would your thoughts be on something like that?
I'd like to think that was the case, but I appreciate that. Obviously, the thing is, if somebody likes a specific type of photography, like nature or landscape, that I'm not going to appeal, and I accept that. I don't mind. That's not a problem for me to accept that. But people won't accept a lot of what I do for that reason alone. But like I say, even like that, the image you spoke about earlier, the Reservoir Dogs one, that one there, even that one I had a fiddle with, just meant to improve the shot. And
yeah.
But I'd got away with that one because not many people would notice I'd fiddled with it. So it depends what you get away with.
Of hacking the judging a little bit, so kind of create a bog standard beautiful landscape view of all of these pines and hide a couple trees in there that are built with pegs,
Yeah.
start, start kind of critiquing it through visual play
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
because I mean, people also have done that kind of thing where they do composite reproductions of a genre, but they
Yeah.
purposely break it a little bit in the
Yeah.
presentation of it.
Yeah. I've been deliberately planning at some point. There's a chap at a camp club who's absolutely does these stunning pictures of like he gets up literally like 4 in the morning, travels an hour or two to go to somewhere on Dartmoor to a location where he has to walk another hour to get somewhere for sunrise. Then he doesn't get a good sunrise. Then he has to trudge back and try the next day. And he comes up, he has some stunning pictures. And there's one location particularly he keeps on returning to. I thought one day I'm going to go there in bright sunshine in the afternoon, have a nice cream tea, a cup of tea, whatever, a cake, grab a mundane shot of that some one of those things just there in bright sunshine, then turn it into a black and white nighttime shot or something, and add mist to it. So you can get clouds and you can make them look like mist. Going over it, so it's and like get the light coming over the right way, things like that. That's a shot that you'd think you'd have to go there just to wind him up. As a joke,
Yeah.
just to say, look, here's that location. Look, and just to say you can do that and have a cream tea.
I love that idea.
There's a place in the UK I've been wanting to go to. They refer to it as the Lake Country.
Yeah,
That there's a lot of great landscape. But
and the issue with that is that we got a lot. I've driven past it. I'd say probably about 90% of the camera club have spent time in the Lake District, and it's renowned. And this one person, particularly we're just talking about, he's been up there so many times, and it's the sort of place you can wander around. You can get 5 seasons in one day. You can have like fog, bright sunshine, hail, you name it. You can get everything, but all in one day. And it's one of those bizarre locations where the light's always changing. And I think you're probably going to be guaranteed to get some great shots there. The place I like is the Isle of Skye, and the Isle of Skye is. I don't know if anyone's been to Iceland. It's a bit like Iceland, and Iceland is another one of those locations where you can just drive around, and there's shots everywhere. You can even get shots literally just like just stop the car a minute, out the window, snap, because if you're at the right time of day, because there's so much photographically in Iceland that is amazing. I mean, some places you park up, you haven't got far to walk from the car to find a great location. Yeah. So and Skye in some places is quite similar to that. And that's gettable from it's about 8 to 10 hours for me to drive there to Skye. But I go up there every year and have a week in that location. Yeah. But the Lake District definitely one that could be on your list.
Now, I would like you're doing some really good architecture photography. Do you still do that frequently, or?
I've gone more at the moment, just for this last year or so. I've gone more composite because there's not very many people at our club do architecture. But I mean, there's a few, but not that many. And I love doing architecture shots, but the work I do, I'm so busy all the time now doing things and weekends, things like that. I tend to be, I'm grabbing opportunities to do things in a limited time span. So obviously when I retire, I'll be able to do a bit more. It's the sort of thing I go back to it again more. But
I can tell you that you don't have time.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that, like I say, I've been over to Amsterdam a couple of times. I like Rotterdam. I took quite a few shots in Rotterdam. And I used to have like about 3 trips a year, and literally when you're there, like for instance Tokyo, and I did a 2 weeks Tokyo, or nearly 2 weeks Tokyo. But when I got more when I went down to Fukuoka, I did another holiday over to Japan, and I spent that there. There's so much you can photograph, and it's so safe to go around in Japan taking night photography and architecture. Then I make any opportunity I get when I go away anywhere. That's when I do the architectural stuff generally, or I do a special trip somewhere, particularly like London or whatever. Just I know for one day I'm going to go up there and just spend a whole day getting shots, then come back again. So there's certain places I go to, but it's much harder to do those sort of shots now than it was me like a few years ago. It's just I haven't got the time at the moment, and even where I work, I work so far away from my house. It's one of those things. I've been meaning to come onto this group for quite a while, but I've never been in my house even. This is the first time back in my house to participate. So I've watched a couple on YouTube. So I've seen all three of you on YouTube and enjoyed that. Fur as well. So I've seen him as well. Obviously enjoyed that one. All four of you together. So yeah, it's been good. But it's just getting the time where I'm in my house, let alone going out taking pictures.
Yeah.
So hence doing these composites in bits. But I can do a quick burst, go out and get the shots. Then I can, after work, when I come back, whether I'm working down in Exeter or up here, I'm only here like maybe one day a week, then I can actually do those bits in between, the processing and putting things together. So that's why it's gone more composite now. Then that's what you're seeing more of now for that reason.
There's probably a bit of time you devote in your week to add into your collection too, by the looks of things.
I bought another one today. So on the way back here, there's an antiques place. I looked at it the other week. I thought, that's still there in 2 weeks' time. If I'm going past, I'm just going to swing in and get it. If it's still there. If it's not, let's not worry about it. But it was there.
It was meant to be.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's never plain sailing. But like I say, that's not to say I'm not taking other things. I did a whole batch on infrared. There's a house that's opened up, which is only opened a limited amount of time in Wiltshire. It's got an interesting pagoda in the background by a famous architect who doesn't do very many private projects, and it's quite an elaborate pagoda with multi floors. And so I went there purposely. I spent a whole day taking pictures there in infrared. I did nothing at all. Maybe one or two shots in my K1. I had both things with me. But I have to say, the infrared came out a lot better. I mean, it was our perfect lighting for infrared.
Mm-hmm.
So I tended to use that more. But I have got a whole set of shots that I have now got to process at some point that I took last weekend. So I've got a batch of shots to go through. It's whether I put them all onto Flickr or not. I'm very wary of having a whole batch of infrareds now. People will think, all you do is infrared shots. I put a whole batch up together. That's the next problem, isn't it? You get typecasters doing infrared.
Yeah, with me it's seasonal because my wife has this elaborate garden that I can just practically crawl into every morning. So I do a lot of flower photography in the spring and the summer.
Yeah.
So then that's what I do mostly this time of year. So, but I thought because you're infrared. I mean, you're kind of a gimmicky guy, which is exactly. And it looks. I guess all of us are. I mean, but I liked stereo photography. You ever dabbled with that?
Right. No, but I've been looking at trying to get hold of a vintage stereo camera. I've been looking at that. There's several available. There's a Kodak do a very nice one.
Yeah, they do. Kodak has a good one. Yeah, my stepfather had had the classic Kodak camera with all these special viewers and everything that you plugged into the wall. But you don't need to have a stereo camera to take stereo photographs.
Right. You have to offset the second picture. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to go what they call cha-cha, where you go one side then the other.
Yeah.
So, and Pentax made a beam splitter for 50mm lenses, so you can probably find one of those.
Yeah.
Around.
All right. Something else to look out for. Beam splitter.
Yeah, it's I've got one in the cupboard over there. It's so basically, it's just a little thing you attach to the front of the lens. The light comes in, and then it splits the image into two, and then you end up with two frames that are slightly offset.
Right.
And you can then turn it into different kinds of things. You can either print it like that, or you can bring it into Photoshop, and you can create different kinds of 3D images with it.
Yeah, if you see my image of the my what have you called icon, my face on Flickr, I'm using 3D glasses.
Oh, I see. When you were talking about 3D images, I was thinking of the stereo ones where you have the two. It is what you're saying. It's the offset ones.
Yeah.
And the vintage with the viewer where you have like normally a wooden
exactly
the old vintage thing with the barrier which stops
stereograph.
There's a link to the Pentax one right there, but you can still find those if you look for them.
Yeah, but I mean, you can also do it by crossing your eyes, or you can also look past.
Yeah.
It's like one of those old
Oh,
stereograms that people used to have.
look at that. Pentax beam splitter. Right, that's on my list then.
Yeah, set that easy on your shelf right now.
Yeah. Look at that.
But they used to sell a viewer for it as well, which was kind of like an updated version of the old ones from the 19th century, where you could just pop your printed frame into it, and you'd see it in stereoscopic view.
Yeah. I was over at a friend's house the other day, and he had the proper like vintage like World War, I think it was World War II pictures done with this like as a proper stereo view. Obviously, their landscape with the beam splitter. You get two portrait ones, don't you?
Yeah.
But certainly, he had the really properly old one with all the old view and everything, and it's very impressive looking at really old pictures done with one of those viewers. Quite impressive how certain things jump out at you. So it's definitely worth exploring. Yeah. Well,
Okay, we are after 3 o'clock, so we're going to call it quits. It was great to have you here, Richard. Hope to see you again. I'm planning on, let's see what's going on. I should be able to do this again next week. Should be every Sunday.
yeah.
Like this, unless everybody says they're not going to show up, or if I can't do it. And if I can't do it, if somebody wants to, I'd be glad to share my login credentials. So I will create a copy of the video and post it sometime later today, or maybe early tomorrow.
Okay. So,
So thanks for one more link.
Thanks for having on here. Anyway, so thanks for organising it.
This is a picture I took of my son years ago and then I had one of his kids' books, stereo viewer, because I didn't have another one to view the picture.
All right.
But I was using that Pentax one.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for that, sharing that. Like I said, I can't promise I can make it every week, but I'll do my best whenever I can.
All right.
This is the perfect time.
We'll see you later.
All right.
Good.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Talking more
Nice
about
to
your
meet
work.
you.
All right.